If you ever felt broke, lost, and achieved nothing in your 30s, then basically we have the same story. I just want to take this time to actually talk about what I've gone through, trying to build a career, trying to build a life for myself. And it felt like I couldn't breathe, like I couldn't get my head above water. And I just want to talk about the struggles I went through, what I've actually done to change and stop what I was doing and to put myself on the correct path. And so let's just get into it. My name's Leo and I'm 40 years old this year and I've learned a lot of things. And some people may say that I don't know nothing because I'm too young. But really, if you actually look at it on an objective position, 40 years old is middle age. Most people actually die in their 70s, 80s. So being 40, there's enough life experience to know what's right, what's wrong, what works, what doesn't. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's frustrating, but it's sad to see men at our age that give up. My brother actually gave up. He was 47 and he hurt himself on Father's Day. And I've talked about this in some of my other videos. But as men, we struggle. We have no one to talk to sometimes. The only people that we could probably talk to is our group of friends, maybe our coworkers at most. And our girls depend on us. Our kids depend on us. Family depends on us. But who does men have to depend on? Really, no one. And it's frustrating because, especially when you're in your 30s and you're trying to build things for your life and you feel like you can't get ahead, a desperation sets in. You start feeling the time of essence. In the 30s, girls feel that, oh, they need to have families, they need to get pregnant. But in our 30s, as men, we need to be successful. We need to make things happen. We need to make sure that we're able to provide for our families, to protect them financially, protect them from the realities of the world. With everyone throwing tantrums, with everyone screaming and shouting for what they don't have, it gets harder and it gets more difficult for men because why? The cost of inflation gets to us. Our money gets weaker and weaker. Taxes increase. So we have to pay more to the government. So now we aren't able to build savings. It's more difficult to build savings. It's more difficult to invest. And investing is probably one of the tenets that I wish I had done earlier. I didn't know about it when I was younger. I didn't understand it when I was younger. In my 20s, it was a screw around phase. Figure out what I like to do. I'd had a lot of different things. I had a lot of different side hustles and businesses. At 18, I had a music production crew. We were Boom Slap. We were the Goonie Squad. We were actually making beats for commercials, not necessarily trying to make music for distribution and get our names out there, but we were also making money trying to sell these jingles to other companies. And we're good at it successfully. Then on top of that, I actually had my own vitamin company. That was doing 5 figures a month. That was actually pretty cool. But things changed. Nothing is set in stone. And after a few years of making a good profit, I seen marketing costs jump up 3 times. It tripled in a matter of a year. And that told me, oh, there's a market saturation. That means I got too much competition. I'm not going to make a lot of money anymore from this. So I had to pivot. Then on top of that, I was working a W-2, a 9 to 5, where I only got to see a 3% increase on wages. I had a 17-year career in pharmacy, and imagine 3% every year. When the cost of living, the food cost, the gas prices, the cost of house rentals, or in my case, I own my home, the mortgage, and not necessarily the mortgage, but everything that comes with it, the utilities, the insurance costs, the cost of repair, all those spiked up. So it makes it more difficult to actually save and get ahead. And after the 20s of trying to figure out what I like, in the 30s, I doubled down what I was good at, which was actually systems thinking, creating systems, creating SOPs, finding teams, building teams. And I learned those skills in my 9 to 5. It's not like I had everything given to me. I had to earn it. I left home at 16 to go to college and go to school. I had my MBA at 25, but still in my 30s, I wasn't making a lot of money. I was broke. I couldn't get ahead. I couldn't afford a home. I couldn't buy my own home. I live in the Bay Area, and it's probably one of the most expensive places in the world. And if they say in the Bay Area, you need to make 125,000 a year. Anything less than that, you're considered low income. Now, how much of a shock is that to the rest of the world? It's not easy. So being in the Bay, even though we may be privileged with the best weather, really nice places to eat, there's a premium we have to pay for that. And that premium is the daily life that we live. So it doesn't necessarily matter where you live, what environment. It's about how you handle that and how you make adjustments. Now, the 30s, I built up my skills as much, but I didn't attain a lot. It was a learning phase for me. I learned how to be patient. And I still struggle with that because I'm a go getter and I don't like to sit back. I like to jump in and make things happen. And if something doesn't work out, I'm always trying to figure out the solution and make an adjustment as quickly as possible. But sometimes it's not. So in your 30s, I'm here feeling like I was broke because I couldn't buy my own house. I didn't buy my own new cars. I didn't have the flashiest clothes, but I was able to make a living. I was able to survive. And it wasn't easy because I didn't really know what I want to do. I was going with the flow. I just knew what I was good at. I didn't figure out what I like to do. In my 20s is a screw around phase. In my 30s is building a skill set. Now, as I enter my 40s, I'm thinking about, okay, what do I really want to do? Because there's a lot of things that happen in that 20-year gap that actually leads me up to what I truly know what I want to do. Because during that time frame, I have all these amount of experiences and I know what I like, what I don't like, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, what I'm known for and what I'm not known for. And so it took some time to actually figure that out. That's why it's okay in your 30s to still not have it all together because it's still early. We're only hitting halfway of life. And if you're still breathing and you could still make a decision and you could still make moves and take action, then you still have a fighting chance. And so now in the 30s, I'm looking back at all these experiences from working 17 years in pharmacy, building on my career to become a manager, to run a large team of 80 staff members. I worked 24/7 for that job. No weekends off. I barely had time off because I was at a hospital and we're working 24/7. And I had a team of 80 people. I scheduled 1,000 shifts. I was getting calls at 11 p.m., 2 a.m. It didn't matter. Every single day, it really never ended. So I always took my homework with me and it took a toll because my relationships suffered. I spent more time on my work than my relationships. And it ended up me losing some of them. And that's just nature of the game. And the one thing as I look back, it'd have been better, it'd have been a smarter decision if I was able to just balance correctly, make a little bit of time for those relationships, foster that. Me focusing on my career the past 17 years, I made this decision. And what happened now is I'm 40 years old, unmarried, no kids. It is what it is. I'm cool with it because I still know there's game, time to make things happen. And as guys, we're always shooting bullets. We don't have a timeline like women, so it's all good. But I think what's really cool is now as I leave pharmacy and I'm starting over from a period of feeling like I was lost, I actually understand what I want. So as I turn into the 40s, I'm building my real estate investment firm, Hospi. We bought multiple properties across the country, and I'm really excited for that company. It's doing well. At the same time, I'm a part of a vending machine business. And what's cool about that is it was a translation of skills for me. So in the pharmacy at the hospital, we had to figure out a way to get the medicine to the patient bedside. And we would put it inside machines in each of the wings of the hospital. And it's no different than vending machines. The difference is we're getting snacks from our warehouse to the vending machines at our clients' locations. And so it's the pretty much the same premise, the same business model. It's just different products. And so what's cool about that business is it allows me to actually use the skills I built over the past years. But now my income's uncapped because I'm not subject to a W-2. I'm not subject to what someone says I'm allowed to take and build up in the business. Now I'm a partner in this business and it allows me to keep growing the business while using my skills to keep servicing the business and stay consistent. But on top of that, one of the things I learned in the past 15, 20 years is the ability to speak. I was always a shy person. I was the studious kid. I got straight A's, but I still kicked it. Like I was a social introvert, if that made sense. I was a person who's always at the parties, kicking it with people, but I didn't talk much. In the 30s, I learned to harness my communication skills for interacting with people in terms of business, hiring staffs, conflict resolution, negotiations, a lot of these sales skills that I built in my 30s, but I wasn't getting compensated for it. But now in my 40s, I'm using these to scale a business. I jumped as a partner in this vending machine business, and in a period of 3 months, I helped increase the revenue by 25,000 per month. Let me say that again. In 3 months, 25,000 per month. That's because of the experience I built over the past 15 to 20 years. So even though if you don't get the bag in the 20s, it's okay. Even if you're still struggling with the 30s, it's okay. Because when you figure out your skills, what you're good at, what you like to do, and what your ability to communicate and be yourself, then in your 40s, I feel like it's going to be a breeze. Of course, there's going to be struggles and there's going to be ups and downs. That's a part of life. But at least now I have a direction. I have a purpose. I know what I'm supposed to be doing and working on. Sometimes some of the things that you go through, they fall apart. So new things could fall together, correct? They say that all the time. It's like a puzzle piece. You take one thing out and replace it with something better. And one example of that is like having the relationship. I was in a relationship. For me, it was a long-term relationship. It was a few years. And we broke up right before one of my birthdays, before Thanksgiving. And my birthday's in December. I'm a December baby. And so now imagine going through the breakup. You have the holiday season, you have your birthday, and you're not with that person no more. Of course, you're going to feel lonely. And I felt like that. I felt like even in a group of people, I was still alone. And I know a lot of guys feel like that. It's like there's no one who could actually relate and understand. And the difficulty with that is you're in your head. You're thinking about how you're going to get this out or how you're going to make it up and get back with her. That was one of the things I was thinking about. Or thinking about what went wrong in the relationship. Am I worthy of being in another relationship? Every person goes through it. It's not an issue though in the long term because sometimes those relationships need to go. It was a toxic relationship. There was no trust. A lot of things were happening and it was better that I dipped out. And so one of the things I learned from that was to let go and move on. There is no point in feeling frustrated and dwelling on the past. What's done is done. All you could take is the individual lessons from that situation and figure out how to apply it in a better situation moving forward. And so like from that relationship, I learned, okay, This is what I want out of a relationship. I want a female that's trustable. She's honest. She don't play no head games. She's not concerned with herself. She's more concerned of the family unit or being in a cohesive, collaborative relationship with great communication, good transparency, and just having a good time, right? But then that same experience allows me to look at other relationships, my business partnerships. Okay, what do I want in a business relationship? Similar things. I need a business partner that's loyal, upfront, direct, gets their stuff done, has no time for playing games. This business is not a hobby. We're trying to build it into a full fledged corporation and we're moving that direction. So it becomes one experience leads to the understanding of how to apply and choose what you want in the next situation. You just got to look out for those lessons. I think another thing from those experiences of loss or feeling behind, you got to shake things up, get curious. You learned a lot of things as a child. Imagine when you're back in elementary school, you're using your imagination to come up with things, to come up with ideas, to come up with playful situations so you don't get bored. We're making stick figures out of twigs. We're considering balls, bombs, and trying to try new things, seeing if I can jump that curb with my bicycle. It's important that you get curious and you start shaking things up because only then is when you'll figure out new things that interest you. One of the things I've liked to do is DJ. For me, DJing is a stress relief for me. It allows me to use my creativity. Why? Because I'm always trying to match new songs with each other. I'm trying to come up with new blends. Maybe if I put Jay-Z on top of AC/DC, would that sound good? Would I put Robin Thicke on top of Keith Sweat? Would that sound good? There's a lot of different ways that I could flip the script as I say it. And so being curious allows me to figure out new things, use my imagination, and find joy and happiness and contentment. But now, what if you applied it to other situations? Say if it's in your relationship with your girl, having that creativity allow me to find a way to have compromise to be able to see eye to eye because I may not on the initial understand what she's feeling or what she's saying or what she's thinking. But if I'm asking those questions of being curious and not being judgmental, then I could get a better understanding of what she needs, what type of support. Even when it comes to the kids, I'll do the same thing. Or my parents, I'll do the same thing. Or any other family members and business partners. Being curious allows me to actually learn people more, get to understand them, who they are, and what they need, and what type of support. It actually makes me a better man, I believe, in my opinion, because now I'm just not as judgmental. There's times I'm going to be judgmental and critical. Okay, because I'm results oriented. That's my natural personality. Let's go. I want this done by this date. We need to go. If we don't hit it, then I go through root cause analysis. I get curious. I start asking, how come this is not happening? How come we're not doing all these things? Right. And the same with business. We don't hit our metrics. Why is it? Did we just stuck on one path? Okay, let's use our imagination and creativity to figure out what we could do to push this situation on. So I did that with my personal finances after I left pharmacy. Okay, what could I do to generate income? I started becoming private money lender. So I'd lend a small portion, not all the chips, but a small portion of my money to other real estate investors. So I would fund some of their deals and in a couple months, they would pay me back. I essentially became the bank for them. Okay, let me make money that way. Now, also on top of that, I had my own real estate investment firm, Hospi. We go out to buy properties. We run the day-to-day operations. It becomes our business and we get cash flow from it. Pretty simple. Explanation. Execution is difficult. That's a whole nother story. And then in the vending machine business, like I've described earlier, okay, this is the business. This is where we want to be. How do we get it there? Okay, let's double down on marketing. Let's double down on the cold calls, finding new corporate locations. Let's do email reach outs. Okay, let's optimize so we could cut our cost. What's our budgets? Is this budget the best for how we want to grow? If it is, cool. If it's not, we need to readjust in a few months and think about what's working and what's not working. Now, in the 30s and you feel like you're lost and broke, I felt like for me, I was at rock bottom. So, because a lot of things happen, I'm out of pharmacy. I don't know. I'm out in the reality of the world without a cushion. I have no relationship anymore. My brother passed away that I talked about, who took his own life. I was unhealthy, overweight. Everything was bottom for me. But how did I stand back up? Because I made the decision. Because after a while of taking time to decompress and let the little stresses out, and then starting to figure out one by one what I need to do, what I not need to do, what order of things, what are my priorities, how do I adjust them, what do I really need to focus on, and what's just a want, and get that out of the way temporarily. Then I really understood the main point that rock bottom is a foundation that you could spring back up on your feet. The only way it can get worse is if you're not breathing, if you're dead. But if you're alive, you're breathing, you can make a decision, and you're hungry enough to make something happen for yourself, you can make that adjustment. For me, life is like a trampoline. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. And sometimes when you fall, you got to just spring back up as quickly as you can. I've noticed that the people with the strongest resilience who are able to get over or get through the problems in life, they're able to get back to their core center as quickly as possible, which means they don't sulk they don't sulk, they don't whine, they don't complain, they don't bitch. It's just, they'll take a little time to say, okay, this is what happened. This is what hurt me, but I need to get back to the center and I need to get back to taking action and making things happen. It's important that you got to keep going. It's not an easy way of life being a man. They make it seem like it's easy being a man. But in all reality, we got all these pressures on us. We're expected to perform a certain way. We're expected to provide, protect, offer support. But who gives us the support we need? It's not very typical. Most guys go through their lives not having the ability to share what they're going through on a really deep level, just so they could get it off their chest even. That's why guys, they do like to go out, have a guys week night once a week, have a beer or two, and then come home. And I know there's a lot of guys that don't have that feature as well too. And the only thing I could think of is during the shutdown in 2020, when all these things were happening to me, all I could do was start listening to motivational podcasts, motivational YouTubes, and then just listen to people's stories of what they went through and how they figured it out and what they've done to circumvent those problems. But the problem is at that time, people would only touch the surface and not really talk about it too deep. I think it's important if you're going to talk about these struggles that may go through, just be full transparent. Whether I'm going through it or someone else is going through it, I feel like it's important to be honest, be straight up, and just share the experience. That's why, like for me, building this right now with Fresh and 40, it's really just a journal to myself because I want to just be able to track what I've gone through in the past, what I've learned, what I'm currently doing, what is my thought process for my plan of action in the future. And then in 20, 30 years, it's a way for me to look back and say, yes, that was correct. Or in a lot of cases, what I believe now is not what I'm going to believe in 20 years because I believe that truly because what I believed in my 20s, some of those things I don't believe now. As you age, you experience and you get this new sources of knowledge, you're going to understand that it's things shift, things change. It's a pendulum. One season at a time, you're going to be on this side, and then something happens, and it's going to switch you back to the other side. And life's a cycle, and then it keeps going back and forth. That's why if you see like stock markets and things like that, it's always a up and down because thought process change, and they always go back and forth, back and forth. And the key is just stay at that center because no matter how far it sways, you could get back to the center. And if it sways to the other side, you get back to the center. So if you figure out a way where you can be some type of contentment like I did, or kind of peace with your past, and then start making moves to to change what you want in life, then do it. So there's 3 things that I've done that actually helped set me up to be not at the position of being lost and broke like my 30s. One thing is I constantly read because I'm trying to figure out what's going on, what skill set I need to develop. Number 2, take care of your health. I do my best to eat right, but I still love my burgers, man. It's hard. I just don't eat as many of them. Eat a little bit more salads, more vegetables, take care of your health, drink a lot of water, which I really love to do. And that was a big transition for me because I'm coming from an athletic world where I was in wrestling for multiple years in middle school and high school. I trained martial arts, and now in my 30s, like I haven't done much training. So it's just like, okay, I need to start taking care of my health again. And then the third thing is start saving to invest. That will change your finances. And I know a lot of guys, that's a big thing on her head, retirement, make enough money. How do we handle inflation? So start saving what you can now and investing in a good index fund. You don't have to be the best at investing. You don't have to go out and buy businesses and make side hustles. If you want to, definitely do that, but that's not for the faint of heart. So if you just want to be able to have your free time, have some peace, but still be able to grow your money, a high yield, low cost index fund is really good. Start off with $50 a month, then adjust it to $50 a paycheck. And then when you can, $50 every week, and then start going into the hundreds and don't touch it. Let that sit until your time to retire or whenever you want to buy a house or something that really needs importance. What I've done that I learned is that's a great thing to do for children's tuition. College is really expensive, and sometimes college is great only if you're being a doctor, lawyer, or a businessman. It's not necessarily good if you're just trying to get a good W-2. For me, I say a good businessman should go to college, not for the education. I think just pass the grades, you're cool, but it's really about the networking. Because if you're trying to become an entrepreneur or an investor and you need all these contacts, it's not about who, it's about who knows you. So just take that into account. But yeah, being lost and broke in the 30s, it's a normal, it's common, and it's not as difficult to get out of it as anyone thinks. It feels that way. You just have to have the curiosity to problem solve what you need to do. You have to let go of the past traumas and your past failures and don't let that become your limiting mindset. And then you got to understand that life's a trampoline. And if you hit the ground, definitely pop back up as quickly as you can. Get back to center and start making moves happen. Now, if you thought you liked this video, please definitely share it, like it, subscribe it, and I'll catch you later. Be easy.